Welcome to SAP Straight Talk with Shahid Rehman. Shahid, welcome to the podcast. Can you tell us one fun fact about you?
Oh, fun fact. I once auditioned for a reality show and I chickened out.
Oh, wow, fantastic. Good fact. So I'm Vishal Jakkulwar. I've spent over 20 years in the consulting industry, working on SAP programs, transformation programs, across multiple organizations and working with a lot of SIs. Over time, I basically gathered my own views where the SAP programs tends to succeed and where they tends to struggle. I think today what I would like to discuss with you, because you've been in industry working on the SAP itself for many years, I'd like to understand your perspective on the SAP programs itself and what you have learned over time, what you have seen. One is that I've seen it from the consulting point of view, okay, more of a management of those programs, ensuring that I provide strategically I provide value to my customers, where we're managing those SIs and the overall implementation of SAP. But what I've never got in the detail, it's always been managed by the SIs, right? And they were really impressive. But again, there were always struggles. In some cases, they've managed to impress us a lot. But in some, we've also struggled to get a clear understanding of where they're actually struggling. I think when it comes down to, I understand it's not just one sided story. It's always going to be, both sided story. Where the issues are, whether the customer is contributing to the right points to help the SI, or whether the SI is giving the clear clarity. The whole ownership is with SI in this case. Are they giving the right information to the customers? So, I want to embark on this journey today to understand your point of view from the experience you had in the SAP transformation programs.
Okay, thanks, Vishal, for having me. My name is Shahid. I come with over 25 years of SAP experience. I've worked and lived out of countries like US, Europe, all of Europe predominantly. I lived in Germany for many number of years. Worked in the US also for a while. I traveled on projects to Middle East, Southeast Asia. So kind of did the entire globe trotting, including countries like Japan, Singapore. And then I moved back to India a few years ago. And after moving back to India, I joined Prolifix. And I had the SAP practice globally for Prolifix.
Fantastic. Right. So I want to start with a simple question.
Mm-hmm.
So you worked across industries and multiple SAP programs. If technology isn't an issue, what is when the program struggles?
So, Vishal, one thing that we might want to consider is that SAP is proven. So the programs are something that are run by the organizations, and the organizations fail to run the programs. So that is where the problem lies.
All right. So where do you see the most misalignment within the programs?
Predominantly, the misalignment comes between your IT and business, because the moment SAP projects are seen as something which are driven by IT, and if business is not aligned, that is where the problem begins. For example, in one of the customer case, a large retail customer, where we have seen there was misalignment in terms of the business units, and for that the program was dragged by about close to 14 months.
What do you see the reason was these programs slip from their original timeline? Is it the decision making, unclear decision making, or slow decision making?
I think it is slow decision making more than unclear. Unclear is also there, but slow decision making is the predominant factor why these projects get dragged.
Would you be able to share some, near miss stories of from your experience, where you almost done everything, but there are certain things which has caused program to be delayed, and it can be anything. I'm not specifically focusing on the DSI side of it. I know that's a part you've been playing, but from business, because I think it's a combination. Any program you work on, it's never going to be delivered by just one party, isn't it? You have multiple parties involved. How does that work?
So there was one particular case where the CFO of a organization said, just make sure that the SAP works well. We were very much into the project, and after a few months when we were doing the UAT, his team came back saying that we were not involved in the definition of chart of accounts, and that was during a critical phase of user acceptance test.
Right.
So we had to redo a lot of things, so that had to go back, and that did not go well. So there was a clear slippage of time.
What do you think a good business case explains beyond ROI and cost saving?
Most programs begin or plan without a measurable ROI that they have. And the definition of each function is defined differently. And that is where the problem lies.
In your experience, what gets constantly underplayed? Is it data? Is it business time commitment, or is it interfaces?
It's a combination of all of them. But to begin with, what SAP recommends is the standard fitment of the harmonized processes. But what happens is every organization comes with a legacy of what has been in their systems in the past. So that would call for a lot of technical debt, is what we call, in terms of the customizations that will happen, in terms of the data that you're talking about. It is available in a different format that needs to be refreshed and brought into a format that SAP wants, but still they would want to carry some of the legacy format. Yeah. So data and the data quality becomes a problem. And then most importantly, what we call in SAP is clean core. So all the extensions that you would want to have, all the additional developments that you would want to have need to be out of the clean core, but they are all brought in. And another important point that you touch based upon is the involvement of business. So that is the key and the crux, because right from the definition or design of the business blueprint to the user acceptance test to the validation to the go live, business have to be involved. The moment SAP projects are seen as IT-led projects, so that is where we have seen, in my experience, that these projects have failed.
If the benefits don't have the named owners, do they actually materialize?
So when you talk of benefits, we are talking about 2 or 3 different set of people. So one is if the executives, in terms of how they set up the entire SAP program and how they would want to see it running. There has to be clear direction from top down in terms of what is it that needs to be achieved, the standardized processes that needs to be brought in, and also look at how each of these business functions are made responsible and act as owners across 3 important features. 1 is your business process, 2, data, 3 is providing a business case for their usability.
How do you distinguish between a system success and the business value success?
SAP advocates for a business value success because that is what we need to be looking at. And in a particular case, what stayed with me for a very long time was in terms of how the SAP project was delivered. Because normally, the moment there is a go live, you will see that the entire management and the executive team will vanish from there. But here was a case where for a large manufacturing client of ours, where they got involved even after go live, these people were going to the shop floor trying to understand, if what they see with SAP now is good enough or not. Then we had the CFO going to his controllers and financial team and pushing them and checking them as to why they are still on Excel sheets, right? So that was a very particular case where the business drove. And to me, that's a clear indication that go live is not the end of the line. Go live is where your actual business transformation begins in terms of usage of SAP.
Perfect.
Now, the other challenge is the moment if it is driven purely from a technical point of view, and if it is only technology driven, the checks that needs to happen from a business validation perspective are not mandated by the business, and it is only IT whose core function is to make sure that these things are up and running. So that is where they lose the business value. And that is the reason why we have always been advocating that these projects have to be business led, business driven, and a clear set of ownership needs to be defined.
That's a really good answer. But over many years of working in major programs, what I've seen is post go live, the involvement of the leadership, right? So there's not much because the program is done, it's ended, they can they move on. The go live is done, right? It's been moved on to something else. Would you be able to share any examples from your experience where a leadership stayed involved post go live in the program, and what exactly are the benefits of those?
Well, I'll continue from the same example where I was, speaking about how the executive and the management team, worked with people. So they went and asked the teams on the shop floor, is this new process helping you? Right? And, how are you feeling the advantage or the benefit of having this new system? So they looked at go live as a halfway for them in terms of, what is it that they wanted to accomplish, and then pushed things further to an extent that they were asking, does this system make your life more easier, right? And for example, some of the technical topics were looked at in terms of, are you seeing, some of what we call as, KRAs is, were they able to achieve this in terms of their actual KRAs that they've defined? Was this SAP solution able to deliver these metrics? So they tracked it to that level.
So when the leaders need to choose between on-prem, RISE, or public cloud, where should they start?
It varies from customer to customer. So for example, if you talk about on-prem, if there are customers who are very focused towards data resiliency, data integrity, and who have a lot of heavy customizing that is required because of the integration with the legacy systems that they would want to have, and the mindset is I own my data. Yeah, so everything is mine. So for those sort of customers, they prefer the on-prem versions because for them, security of the data, some of the data resiliency topics, heavy customization, these become the caveats for them to make sure that they are owning the data. The second is you're talking about cloud versions, and within cloud versions there are two of them. One is what is called RISE with SAP, which is their private cloud, and these are the customers who are eager to take the cloud route, and they are not at this point in time very interested to invest in terms of a lot of capex. So these are the kind of customers who would want to go the private cloud route, and there are other customers who would be taking the grow with SAP, which is the public cloud.
When making the decision, what constraint matters the most? Is it regulatory? Is it internal capabilities or appetite for change?
For on-prem, it is predominantly regulatory. For the cloud versions, it is the ability to be more cloud-centric and have the extensions and adaptabilities that are required. And you also touched base on a very important topic in terms of their internal capabilities. Now, on-prem would mean that they would still have to have a very small team at least to be able to manage their systems or work with the other SIs. And with RISE is again something that they will still continue to have their own teams or work with SIs. And with public cloud, though it is deemed as a SaaS offering, they will still also require an SI support.
Right. Is RISE a simplification or shift in control?
RISE is nothing else but, I'm sure SAP will beat me to death when I say this, is in terms of how they have structured the deal. So what happens with RISE is they will provide you the software, the infrastructure, and they will also run the application for you. What RISE does not cover is the implementation costs that will come with it and the integration costs that will also come with it, because they will have to get a SI to be able to come and do the implementation there. And of course, this is cloud subscription based model.
Have you seen a route chosen for a wrong reason, whether it's fear, fashion, or politics?
Not fear or fashion in the sense of following what your peer within the same industry has done.
Absolutely. Yeah.
We've seen that happen a few times, but again, every business is very different. So in Rise, there's this product called Signavio. So a lot of people have subscribed for Rise, saying that hey, this is a good business process modeling tool. But after they got the product, they've never kind of utilized the tool. So yes, there were some incidents where that happened, but that is not a lot.
So, what is the difference between the phased approach and Big Bang?
So phased approach follows the SAP Activate methodology, meaning that it takes each chunk of work in different pieces, and this is predominantly used when there is a multi-business unit implementations that needs to happen, or a phase-wise multi-rollouts that needs to happen.
Would you be able to give some examples, of industries or verticals you have, or the size of the companies?
So a large conglomerate, which is a global organization. Let's talk about Europe.
Yeah.
If there's a manufacturing company, they will go with a phased out approach, and they will come up with what we call a golden template, and then they will roll it out to the other countries. And country-specific statutory requirements are something that will be added in each of these country rollouts. And with Big Bang, it'll be one large approach that they will take, and everything will be implemented in one go.
And what governance must exist for phased rollout?
For a phased rollout, the governance framework would be predominantly the SAP Activate methodology that is provided by SAP. More than the governance model, what happens is the ability for an organization to weigh the pros and cons is important. For example, in a phased rollout, the timeline is something that will expand over a period of time. For example, I'll continue with the same example. The large manufacturing company in Germany would want to do the first rollout. They'll possibly take a year or close to 15 to 18 months. That is where they'll build the golden template. And after they do that, let's say a country like Italy or Austria, where they would want to do the rollout of it, and then they will go with 6 months or 9 months. So that's a phased approach that they will have.
Where does the cost creeps typically appears? Is it data? Is it interfaces?
It depends on the kind of approach that we take. Would it be an innovation-focused approach, or would it be a customer-centric approach? And the points that you touch based are predominantly not from a cost point of view, but the way SAP looks at it in terms of how they are the three core principles is what they call, in terms of data, in terms of their integration points, and in terms of maintaining the clean core.
Right.
So these will determine, and this will have a bearing on the cost factors.
Would you be able to elaborate on innovation and customer centric a bit more?
Innovation is again something that will predominantly happen with RISE because of the extensibilities and the business technology platform that is provided with them.
What's one question you wish more leaders should ask before signing the contract?
So they will have to ascertain a few things like how much control do they need, what are the spendings that they are willing to do, and what are the add-ons that they would want to have. And because that depends on the SAP line of business products. For example, there are products like SAP Ariba, and would they want to be contained and happy with the MMPs of the procurement, or would they want a larger supplier network? So these topics are to be considered, and this becomes very important in the RISE with SAP context, because they need to understand what are the elements of BOM, is what we call bill of material, that they're getting with it, and what are the elements that fall out of it. Yeah. So this is one conundrum that we have seen, where a lot of people get engaged with SIs after they have already signed an agreement with SAP in terms of the licenses and the BOM. So when we kind of peel it off like an onion and say that, these are the elements or constituents of your BOM. However, given your business case, you will be requiring the other components. For example, the erstwhile PI or the BTP pieces are also something that are not very standard in RISE. So they will have to be coming in as an additional addendum software.
Right.
Yeah. So these are the things that they need to be very wary of when they will go ahead and sign a contract with SAP.
So in your view, they should be asking these questions before.
They should be asking the questions. One simple question is, what are the elements that I am getting? When I talk about elements, please tell me the bill of materials that I'm signing up for.
And again, I'm asking from your experience. And again, the question started with, what do you wish? But does that happen very often?
Not very often, but yeah, we've seen that happen a few times. Yeah, not very often, because the end customer is also having the people who are well versed with SAP. They have some length and breadth of understanding of SAP. So in those cases, it becomes easy.
And what are the consequences of these?
There's a direct financial impact, and when you talk about implementation of these, then the implementation times also gets extended.
Again, on the contracts, right? If you cannot explain the contract in plain English, should you sign?
Yeah, the answer is no. As I've said, take a peek under the hood, try and understand, your BOM well, understand in terms of the timelines that you are signing up for. And because, as I said, it's a subscription-based model. Yeah. So it's like the more you consume, the more you'll be paying for it. So get a very clear understanding of what are the essential elements that you are signing up for.
So getting the right help, asking the right questions is the key here for the customers, because they're buying a new software.
Absolutely.
Right.
But the challenge here is, as I mentioned, SAP also engages the SIs, for their within their ecosystem as the SAP partners after it is signed. Yeah. So predominantly the challenge lies that till that time it is the customer and SAP who are having these discussions.
In these programs, do you think the data element always gets underestimated? And why?
That is the number one most underestimated essential component when you talk about S4 transformations.
Mm-hmm.
Because it is bringing in a lot of legacy data. You will have to consolidate and make sure that it is the right data. For example, in one particular customer, when we were doing this transformation, the CFO made a rule that he would want to look at all the essential master data that is coming in. And when he did that from an SKU point of view, the number of master data elements reduced from 120K to 40K. So it was that kind of a data redundancy that was coming in.
And in your view, who should own the data readiness? Is it IT or is it business?
It should always be business. Because IT, if I were to be blunt, I'm looking at it in terms of number of records. Yeah. But business sees the value of each of the line element that is coming in, or the line item. Yeah, for me, I will load the data from an IT point of view, and I'll see if the data is compatible to the newer version or not.
And again, when do you think the business partner conversion truly starts in the overall transformation process?
That is one of the newer framework that we have, which is business partner. So earlier in the past, we used to have a customer and a vendor. Now everybody is called business partner. And there is the essential component in the transformation, which is called CVI, customer vendor integration. So this takes care of, ensuring that the integration is happening well.
And is that been recognized?
Yeah, that is one of the essential elements and a step that is carried out during migration.
So data being one of the key areas, right? Any program, any project of this size of nature, data is always, being the kind of risk areas, I would say, right?
Sure.
We've always come across it.
Yeah.
What if you come across data issues a bit late in your testing cycle?
Mm-hmm.
What happens? What are the implications of it?
So we've had this case. Now imagine this: a large drilling organization with its sites across the continents. They embarked on a S4HANA journey, and they've loaded their data. But during the UAT, they realize that their data, their asset data, is all wrong. It is not synchronized. So we had to go to the drawing board again, treat data in itself as a transformation project, make sure that the data is standard and conforming to ISO, and then run the entire organizational hierarchies, the asset hierarchies, run the entire data program, and flush out the right data. So we identified this during the phase where we were supposed to do the UAT.
Right.
So we went back to them, and this was a delay of 14 months is what it cost.
It's a lot of time.
Yeah, it was a very
And
rough
money.
time, and it cost a few people their jobs as well.
Wow.
But then, we're talking about a large drilling organization with having their asset data, and there was like not matching at all. So it was like a master data governance program that we had to run for the data.
All right.
So the key takeaway is that please understand that if you have junk in ECC, S4HANA will throw it out. It will not consume it. So please do not underestimate data accuracy.
That's the key, isn't it?
Absolutely.
To starting these programs, because I see people in a rush to move to S4HANA.
Yeah.
They ignore a lot of aspects of the project. They only focus on is technology and delivery. Not testing, not thinking about testing, not thinking about data, because these elements, they come later in the process.
Absolutely.
So what is the solution? What will help organization think about these things beforehand? Is it just a standard process from SAP? Do they help you with that? Or how does it work at the moment, Because if people are making, the example you shared is they've cost around 14 months extra, which is a huge amount of time. And absolutely, it's a lot of money to the organization as well. And again, risk to the jobs, right? So people need to make the right decisions.
Absolutely.
What should a customer do when they're making these decisions? Because they definitely need help. Either they should have knowledge by themselves, but most of the cases when you're moving to a new platform or system, it's very difficult to identify all these elements and identify all the risks. How should they go about it?
I think this is where organizations like Prolifix, exactly fit in, because we will handhold the customer. We will tell them that we will come in and do your discovery sessions and run assessments for them. And when we do this, we are predominantly again relying on the tools that SAP themselves have provided. Yeah, for example, the readiness check report is something that we will use, which will give a snapshot on a repository of, what objects are in your system. And most importantly, this also gives you the simplification list. It also gives you the number of customized objects, and these will become essential inputs for you to make a decision towards your cloud journey and the type of migration that you will do. Meaning, would you be doing a greenfield implementation or even a brownfield implementation? Now, the moment you talk about conversion, the assumption is that, this will be a brownfield implementation, but there have been incidents or instances where after our due diligence and the assessment, we went to the customer and we said, listen, Mr. Customer, the amount of customization that you have brought in over the last 15-20 years is humongous, and a lot of that is available in SAP as a standard fit. So we recommended, we showed the roadmap, and we showed the value add that this customer would get by doing a greenfield implementation.
Right.
Instead of a brownfield.
Well, that's fantastic, isn't it? Because from what I know, it's more investment in terms of time and money.
Absolutely.
When you go for greenfield implementation, right?
Yep.
So it's a really good example. I think we talked about the issues it had caused of not identifying data simplification early in the cycle, or it's being delayed. Do you have an example where early simplification has actually helped the program and you saved time?
So this is very common practice. So in all of the projects, we run with the readiness check report that provides you a simplification list,
Right.
and that is something that is taken to the business. We make them understand that okay, this is where you are having a compatibility issue. This is something that will work in the newer version, and this feature is obsolete. It will not work, and this is a feature which is a good to have and a nice to have. So that segregation is already provided by SAP themselves. So there's not a lot of innovation that is required by an SI there.
So my next question is more about custom code. Why is custom code a silent killer for a migration?
Custom code is your number one risk in terms of your timelines, your cost, and your ability to keep up and maintain the system. What happens is over a period of time, each business unit comes up with what they believe is very unique, and as an organization you try to take all of them together, and in one way or the other you are imbibing a culture where you are saying that you could have your whims and fantasies and it could be set it up. Now what happens is, as we have discussed, a very similar case like data.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of custom code that you've already built on your previous systems is not compatible on the newer versions of S/4HANA.
Right.
Yeah, and especially with the business partner concept coming in and with the customer vendor integration that needs to happen, a lot of it becomes obsolete, and there's a lot of code remediation that needs to be done.
Right.
So all of this adds up to your, from a technical language, what we call as ABAP objects, which is nothing else but your coding work that needs to be done. So the more objects that you have, the more extension and cost in terms of timelines. Yeah. So in fact, this also becomes one of the most important criterion for us to decide if you would want to go ahead with a greenfield approach, because greenfield is like clean core. Yeah, you start afresh.
Yeah.
Or brownfield.
Correct.
Yeah, with brownfield, the expectation is that we just do a lift and shift technically, and everything will be up and running. But if there is a heavily, customized system, the effort that it takes you to make sure that all of this code which is non-compatible will work, the advantage of doing your brownfield is gone if your ABAP objects are so huge.
So the recommendation for a customer is to go with the greenfield.
If you are a heavily customized system, yes.
So is this something you do as a part of assessment? Because I think this needs to come. This recommendation usually comes from the
This will come during the 2 weeks assessment that we will do, where we will do a very consolidated view of the entire system in terms of the business processes that are being covered there, the add-ons that are available, the custom code that you have, the integration points that you have. And we provide this for free of cost. We do it for 2 weeks, and at the end of 2 weeks we are in a position to more or less come up with a ballpark estimation in terms of the timeline that it takes, the effort, which is eventually also translated to the contract value.
Is that the only assessment you will need to do, or there's going to be any further work after that? Because 2 weeks, well, you understand that. I'm talking about only 2 weeks. Is that enough time for the full assessment?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, we are in a position to do an assessment, because what we have done is over the period of last, I would say, 15 to 16 years of doing SAP business, we've built some tools and accelerators using which we are able to run some reports and do an assessment of what is the kind of work that goes in for this particular migration. We've broken up into components like your business processes, as I mentioned, your customization that is required, your integration touch points, and what are the elements that can be easily be brought into the BTP side of the house, and something like your embedded analytics. All of this would be considered.
Right. And is 2 weeks pretty standard?
We would, as far as possible, even recommend to go with standard fitment, because of the whole idea that you will have to be, your clean core has to remain clean.
How should leaders approach the retire, replace, remediate decision in this case?
So from a leadership point of view, what they need to do is mandate the custom code impact assessment, which is provided by a SAP tool called ATC. And once we do that, the triple R concept will clearly come out.
All right. So it's part of the process,
Yes.
which
And this is also imbibed as one of the core steps in the assessments that we do.
So this will help the decision makers and
Absolutely.
leaders in terms of making those decisions.
Yes.
From custom code point of view, because
Yes.
that's one of the things, isn't it? When they are moving from ECC and they're heavily customized, as you said, it's going to be a big challenge, and they will have to make those decisions.
Yes.
Moving on to the new system, S4HANA.
Yes.
What justifies keeping the custom code in this scenario?
Well, if there are any specific add-ons or bolt-ons that are an absolute mandatory to run your business, then it calls for this specific custom code, to move on to the newer S4HANA version. So the only check that we'll do, as I've said, we'll run the ATC check, and if there is possible to be able to remediate, we will remediate and move it on to the next level.
Is it costlier?
No, this is also taken care in the assessment, and this will go as part of the remediation that needs to be done for the ABAP objects.
So what's the long-term cost of migrating technical debt?
There are some golden rules that ought to be adhered to. One is that no tampering of the standard available content. Second is, carry it only to a point that it is easy to manage, because what happens is you will also be patching and upgrading over a period of time. So that is something that will become very expensive. The code becomes obsolete over a period of time. And we are always encouraging the concept of clean core, which means that your system has to be clean core. Whatever needs to be built in, you please use the BTP functionality, business technology platform, and that can be used for any extensibility that you will require. So if this is not done, and as you rightly said, it will become very expensive over a period of time, because as days, months and years go by, all of this will become more difficult to manage and maintain if you are bringing these customizations as part of your core system.
Right. It's a really good point, because that brings me to my next point on clean core.
Mm-hmm.
Clean core has always been presented as non-negotiable.
Mm-hmm.
Is that right, in your view?
Clean core is the health of your brain, and that is the simplest way to put it. So the cleaner it is, the easier it is for you to move on. You keep adding stuff onto that, to your core system, it becomes difficult to maintain, navigate, and move ahead futuristically.
So Shahid, what does good looks like within the first 8 to 10 weeks after go live?
So, okay, you're talking about a scenario where we have gone live, lights are on, everything is up and running.
What does good look like?
The first thing that we will notice is that the stabilization, in terms of things are stabilized, and of course with some user training and all. When I say stabilized, you will see that in terms of your post go live support and maintenance, the number of incidents or tickets will be on the higher side to begin with, but over a period of first 3 to 4 weeks, because there's user education also that needs to happen, you will see a surge, but from the 5th week onwards you will see a decline there.
Is there a perfect world where you go live and there is nothing to worry about?
Absolutely not. Absolutely
Well,
not.
that's
We have
what
never
people
seen
want,
that.
isn't it? Well, that's what customers are looking for.
So what happens is, one is after your stabilization, if you are for example, from a controller point of view, if he's not relying on his Excel sheets and if he's using the system, that's a success. That is a measure of, your KPIs have started kicking in and you are, using your Fury apps.
I think we're talking about post go live. How quickly should the incident volume stabilize?
As I said, there's no golden rule as such, but the first 4 to 5 weeks is where you'll see a surge, and as users try to get their arms around the SAP system, and as they can see these process improvements slowly coming in, I would say somewhere around, the 6th week is when you'll see a decline of the incidents.
So, Shahid, we're coming to an end of this session now. We've planned for a rapid fire round for you. I'll be asking a few questions. You just have to tell me true or false.
Okay,
Okay, you ready for it?
let's go.
Okay, fantastic. But I need to read them out because
Sure.
I'm not going to remember everything. So, round one, we got true and false questions. Okay. Rise removes delivery risk.
False.
All right. Fixed price contracts protects the client.
False.
Clean core guarantees faster upgrades.
Yes. True.
All right. You're getting it. Most SAP business cases are realistic.
Can I use a German word here? There's a word called Jein.
Go for
So
it.
that
What does
is-
it mean?
It is between true and false. It is a combination of both.
All right. Okay. Well, you got 0 marks for that, though. You have to choose true or false.
Read the question again.
Most SAP business cases are realistics.
SAP business cases in the boardroom, yes. When it comes to delivery, no.
All right. So true or false?
True and
question.
false.
Both.
Boardroom true.
All right. Okay.
Delivery false.
Right. Fantastic. You got that. Go live equals success.
False. Go live is the beginning of the journey
Right.
for business transformation.
Yeah. True or false? We're not asking for answers, though.
Okay. False.
Data migration is an IT problem.
False.
If the dashboard is green, the program is healthy.
False.
AI tool will significantly reduce SAP delivery risks in the next 2 years.
An absolute yes. Or sorry, I should say true.
All right. Good. I think I have round 2.
Okay.
Finish the sentences.
Okay.
Okay. Let's see if you can do here. Most SAP programs struggles because
They are not run efficiently.
the biggest myth about S4HANA is tricky question, eh?
Tricky question. So the biggest myth about S4HANA
Is
that it is an IT related project.
right.
It is a transformation project.
Fantastic. Good answer. The first 90 days usually fail when?
On the 90th day,
All right. Rise is right for you
if you are able to maintain your clean core and keep it clean, if you are not bringing any technical debts, and if your business is owning your data.
Gosh, that's a long answer, isn't it?
Yeah, those are the 3 important elements of the S4HANA project.
Right. Clean core becomes dangerous when?
It sits in the core.
The one question every CFO should ask before signing is?
Let me take a peek under the hood. Show me the bomb of the contract.
Right. The one thing system integrators avoid saying in sales cycle is?
I think I should ask you this. You're the sales guy.
Well, I can't answer that. The round is for you.
Okay.
I think this is where it makes more sense, isn't it? Because you're not sales, so you can
Yeah.
answer that question honestly.
The involvement of business that needs to be coming in, and the change management that the end customer has to go through.
All right.
I think these are the essential elements. And I will go to the extent of saying that in some cases, Rise is also sold as a SaaS offering.
All right. If data ownership is unclear,
Your project will fail.
all right, great answers. I got a round 3. I'm going to quickly finish that. Okay.
Okay.
So pick one. Control or convenience?
Control,
Speed or stability?
stability,
Standardization or differentiation?
standardization,
Fixed price or flexible governance?
fixed price with flexible governance.
Let's not pick one, is it? That's fine. I'll let that slip. One big bang or phased rollout?
Well, as we discussed, this depends on the multiple factors in terms of the industry, the need of the implementation, and all of them.
So you can't
But
pick one.
if I were to give one word answer, phase approach,
Business-led or IT-led transformation?
an absolute business-led transformation,
Process discipline or tool investment?
process discipline.
All right. You got a 10 out of 10.
All right.
Fantastic. I got one more round, and this is a very uncomfortable one.
Okay.
All right. Do you want to give it a go?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. What is one SAP promise you would publicly challenge? You're talking against SAP here, right? You got to be mindful of that.
The acronym also stands for slow and painful.
What is the most expensive mistake you have seen in the SAP program?
Undermining the data.
When would you advise a board to pause or stop a program?
When you have not gotten the right people from the business driving the transformation.
What would make you walk away from a deal?
Scope of the dinosaur and timelines of a rat.
All right. And I've got a last one for you. Okay. If you're signing an S/4HANA contract tomorrow,
Okay.
what 3 non-negotiables would you insist on?
Clean core will be absolutely clean. Business will own the data. Minimal customization.
SAP or a trap?
SAP. Anytime.
All right. Well done. All right. Shahid, really, thank you very much for being here today.